Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Sector Insights panel with Law. And you can see we've got some really exciting guests here today who are going to be introducing themselves, which is great. So just be aware that we are recording the session. And I'm just going to put the slides as well in the chat box for those of you that are really wanting to kind of follow along. So Melissa, there are people kind of coming in as we go. So, Melissa, while I'm presenting, if you could let people in, that would be great. Okay, so let's start. So, I just want to remind everyone before we begin that we do have our January to April Careers Employability Program that is all set up and raring to go. And we are right in the middle of it. And there's lots of different series and things that you can tap into, including lots of things around how you can actually use AI to help you in your kind of job search and to help you with recruitment practices. So please do look on Careers Connect for more of these events. And here are some of the events next week. We have Ask Your Careers Questions Live, which is on the 8th of March. We have Using AI to Improve Your Interview Performance as well, which is on the 11th of March. And we have a virtual internship session to kind of help those students that are interested in virtual internships and how to actually access them. I also really want to say that we are really keen that we have an accessible and inclusive learning environment. We are aware that we have students from all over the world. And so as such, if you want to, you are able to show captions on Zoom if you want to follow along that way. I have put the slides in the chat box. I put them in earlier, and I'm just going to put them in again for those of you that have just come in. And please do use the reactions to signal to me to speed up, slow down, or speak louder. And please bear in mind that we have our 10 global employability skills, which are transferable skills that underpin all of the work that we do. And the global employability skills that we're kind of focusing on today, it just through the kind of questions that are going to be asked, are going to be around adaptability and resilience. So, you know, how did people get to where they got to? Communication, because we are kind of networking and talking to each other, and emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is all about, as well, in your career journey, listening to other people's ways of getting into this sector, the law sector or elsewhere, and then considering how you can apply that to yourself to move yourself forward to the next stage of your career development. And just say this is the outline of the session. So we're obviously doing our introductions now. And then we're going to come to the different speakers, and then we're going to do a Q&A session. So when we get to the Q&A session, you can write in the chat for everyone to see the kinds of questions you want to ask, or you can message Melissa directly or myself, because I'm aware that some of you are a bit nervous about asking your questions. So please do that. And just bear in mind that these questions should be useful for all students. So you don't want to ask a very specific question that perhaps the alumni and the employers cannot answer. You know, it might need to be a bit more kind of generalized so that they will be able to help. Okay. Remember to kind of ask, if you're wanting to direct it to someone in specifically, please put their name, and you could say, what advice would you give for this, or what would you recommend for this? If it's for everybody, we will try and cover as many questions as possible, but please do bear in mind we might not get to all of the questions. And remember that the session is being recorded so you can listen again in your own time. Okay, so here are our speakers today. So we have Nathan O'Reilly, who is the Risk and Compliance Manager at Three Crowns. We have Osama, Malik, Javid, who is the Senior of Counsel at Baker and Overy. We have Bim Lee, who is the Vice President of Project Management at Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation. And we have Umar Mohammed Saeed, who is the co-founder of Liaison Limitless. So please, can you introduce yourselves? What is your name? What are you studying? And where in the world are you joining from? Okay. Welcome, Susan. Welcome, Lee. You're doing an LL.B in South Korea, and Susan's from Poland. Wonderful. Okay. We also have Declan, who's doing an LLM in South Korea. Then I would like to kind of get on to for the speakers to kind of introduce themselves. I'm going to be giving each speaker 5 minutes to introduce themselves. And what I will do is I will put my hand up when we get to 4 minutes. So that signals to the speakers that you have 1 more minute to wrap up. So let's start with Nathan O'Reilly, please.
Thank you, Sophie. Hi, everyone. I think if I had to answer this poll a couple of years ago, it would probably be very unconfident. I started my career in South Africa. I was at a law school in South Africa and decided to do my LLB through University of London while working part-time as well. There was a need for flexibility at the time. And I had no clue what I was going to do after graduating, and it was by luck I landed at a global law firm that had just opened their office in Johannesburg, South Africa, and that's sort of where my risk and compliance career started, and I was heavily involved in conflicts of interest, anti-money laundering sort of campaigns for the law firm, and all of that kind of internal thing. And I was there for about 5 years and then moved over to London just before COVID started. And I was at a corporate firm in London doing pretty much the same thing. And then left there to join another firm. And now I'm at Three Crowns, which, as Sophie said, or as it's on the screen, is an international arbitration law firm. And the firm has 5 offices globally, sort of spread across the major continents. And the law firm is involved in international legal work, and the work really is international. Offices are involved in matters in all jurisdictions, literally. Even certain countries I've never heard of. So it's super international. My role within the firm is essentially in-house legal. Everything that has to do with the running of the firm from a legal perspective, I'm involved in, whether that's setting up a new office, negotiating lease agreements, dealing with internal disputes with external parties, claims, etc. So it's quite a diverse role, and I think in terms of what we've seen in the industry and tapping into AI, it certainly has infiltrated in the sense that we're finding a lot more efficiencies with AI at the moment. And whether that's just in how we've changed processes from heavily manual back in the day in South Africa, especially, to now a lot of things being automated, has been quite eye-opening in the sense that it's been quite a dramatic change. For the good, but with that also comes with its challenges. So, in this industry generally, a lot of law firms, particularly in the UK, have been subject to cyber attacks, and that, of course, tailgates off of improvements in AI, and cyber criminals getting a little bit more clever with how they do that. So that's probably the major trend in law firm compliance and law firm running that I've seen in recent time, is essentially just guarding against cyber criminals while trying to take the benefit from AI at the same time. So it's a fine balance. Otherwise, with the firm at the moment as well, also quite heavily involved in operations. I did my MBA through a University of London institution as well, once I got to the UK, and that's worked out pretty well. And then just last points, I'm not sure how much time I have, but I know that one of the points was adaptability, which I picked up on. I think through my career, I've had to be really adaptable, not knowing where I wanted to go, and then just finding opportunities or filling gaps that were there. So finding opportunities and filling gaps that needed plugging has carried me quite well up until this point. So I think adaptability out of all of those is definitely up there for me.
Thanks very much, Nathan. That's great. Really interesting about finding gaps and actually kind of perhaps pivoting a bit to kind of specialize in certain things, etc. We'll pick up on that a bit later, I think. So I now have the pleasure to introduce Osama, Malik, Javid. So hi, Osama, if you'd like to kind of introduce yourself, 5 minutes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Osama Malik. I'm an attorney here in Pakistan. I work in Islamabad, and my work has been very diverse in ways because I do not work in any one particular field. I've done all kinds of work essentially, and I think a lot of it has to do with the University of London and the way it is structured. It allows you to learn so many skills that perhaps a traditional law degree would not provide you. And I think that is one of the things that I think everyone should consider, especially the young students, that you have lots of students from everywhere across the world, and you should utilize that, connect with them. Networking is very important. I think the fact that you are an international student, or as an external student, as we were called back then, you have classmates, you have batchmates from all across the world. Connect with them. That always helps. I started my work in Pakistan, the development institute in Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, DFI, Saudi Park Investment Company. And I think after I went for my LLM, so I am both an external student of the University of London and an internal student of the London University, because I did my LLM as an internal candidate. And I currently serve as the University of London's International Alumni Ambassador, as well as Global Alumni Ambassador. So
sorry, Osama, you keep cutting out. If you don't mind turning off your camera and speaking, just so we make sure that we hear everything you have to say, if that's okay. I think it will help your bandwidth.
No, I hope that's better.
Yes, much better.
So everyone, I was telling you. Hello everyone. I was telling you about my experience at the University of London. I am both an external student of the University of London, as I did my law degree via the international program, but I'm also an internal student of the London University because I did my LLM from one of the constituent colleges. I currently serve as the University of London's Alumni Ambassador, as well as Birkbeck College's International Alumni Ambassador. And I think the people I worked with, the people I studied with, they have also contributed towards who I am today. And because I studied with so many people from across the world, I started my degree in Pakistan, and then I completed it in London. I moved to London and I completed my law degree over there. So I think that is the flexibility that this degree gives you, and it makes you more adaptable to circumstances. I think the fact that we were distance learning students helped us, particularly during the COVID pandemic, when things everyone became either a student via various internet-based means. Even those who were internal students had to work through the internet, and even people were working through remote working systems. So I think that is something that I don't think anyone at the University of London thought that there would ever be a pandemic like this. But I think those who got a University of London external degree, I think they were probably better suited to adapt to that. So that was a silver lining, an unexpected silver lining for us. My work led me to very interesting places. I worked for a development financial institution. After that, I worked in entertainment law, and that was another thing that was helped by my law degree, external law degree. I think I worked with so many people and I studied with so many people that I had some very good connections, and I could bring foreign artists to Pakistan, foreign DJs and foreign performers. That was something I did before the pandemic, and that could not have been possible if I had not studied via this external program. So all those contacts, most of them were through this program. People from Poland, people from Turkey. We brought in a lot of performers from that area, and I think this degree, to that extent, helped us. And later on, because of my connection with the University of London, I was selected to write the new handbook on NGO laws. The new NGO laws were formed after there were some issues with AML and CFTs, anti-money laundering and countering financial terrorism issues in Pakistan, and all the laws were revised. New laws were made for NGO registration, and the UK aid funded that program, and I was selected to write that handbook and to be the consultant for all the assemblies, provincial and national, to revise all the laws. And I think to an extent, my connection with the British University helped with that. So I think I cannot say that this degree has been more than an academic degree. I can say that this is something that has helped me more than just giving me a path towards becoming a lawyer. It has given me the connections. It has helped me to uh, communicate with a lot of people because they come from a similar background. A lot of people around the world have law degrees from UK, particularly from one of the University of London colleges or an external degree from the London University. And I think it connects you to everyone. And that is my message to everyone, young people, that connect with others. You now have WhatsApp and everything else. Use it and connect with people who are doing the same degree. I think that's all I need.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Osama. That was wonderful. And, big thank you to Osama in general as well, because Osama came onto a podcast that is going to be coming out actually later in the spring. And it was all about remote working. And as you can see from Osama, very impressive kind of work that he's done. And he has been in the news, so it might be worth looking him up and kind of reading some more about what he's spoken about there as well. And now we're coming to Bim. So Bim Lee, so thank you so much for coming today. I'm really excited to have you here, especially because some students who have studied the LL.B might not be aware that they don't have to go directly into law. And you yourself did an LL.B and did something a bit different to law. So yeah, please do introduce yourself, and I'll give you 5 minutes.
Hi all, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. My name is Szebim and I'm from Singapore. I graduated from LL.B, and some of you might have already spotted me in our list of alumni ambassadors, same as Osama, or on the introduction video on LinkedIn earlier on a few days ago. Thank you so much. Currently, I'm taking up the role of project manager in SMBC, Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation, and I'm based in the Singapore office. I'm in charge of planning and execution of operation projects within the bank. And for career stage wise, I'm currently around the level of a deputy manager. I'm an individual contributor, meaning I don't have any staff members reporting into me directly. However, I am required to guide junior staff and also train staff on new head office rules and also operation process changes. So I have a rather, how would I say, radical resume. So in my diploma era, I was taking up a diploma in media and communication in Singapore Polytechnic. And actually some of the modules in our Polytechnic education, we had law modules during that time. So that was why I got more interested in law. And during my diploma era, I was doing an intern in our local TV station, MediaCorp. And after that, of course, I proceeded my tertiary studies in LL.B. I took up LL.B. And from there, I thought, hey, I should take a trip to Japan. And that was where I took a trip to Japan. I had a long break in Japan. And coincidentally, during that time, I also had 2 offers from fast fashion companies, which for me, it was so such a delight because I really, really love fashion. I love styling and all. So it was a great opportunity to me. I took up one of the roles there, and in 2012, I started working in Japan in a fast fashion company specializing in Korean fashion. So that is located in Tokyo, pretty near Odaiba or the airport, Haneda Airport, if you guys are familiar. And also, from there, I worked for about 3 years. And thereafter, I took another radical move to move back to Singapore. And at that time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do because for law-wise, I didn't take up any internship at any solicitor's office or any lawyer's office. So law-wise, I was thinking maybe I can start as a maybe legal secretary or something like that. But however, my agent called me up and I was offered a secretary role in SMBC. And that's how my banking career started in 2014. And then for me in SMBC, currently I'm in my 9th year in SMBC already. And last July, I was promoted to a vice president deputy manager and also a project lead of the department. So currently I manage outsourcing projects as well. And of course, regional collaborations with our officers in APAC region. And like I introduced earlier on, planning and execution of operation projects and staff training. So although the statutes and the precedents and the case laws in LL.B, which we have been eating, drinking, showering, and sleeping with daily, totally didn't apply to both of my jobs, like the one in fashion and banking so far. How do I say? For language skills, our written skills in English, and also writing, spoken writing skills, and our analytical skills and presentation skills from LL.B, and also our highly meticulous organizational skills and interpretation skills that we gotten from LL.B. They were really, really helpful for my career so far. So 12 years of my career, everything was good. And also, of course, we are so good in reading really fast because you remember we have like these thick books that we have to swallow in one night. Yeah, that is still very helpful for me in my job right now. And also, I can't say that it's LL.B totally didn't apply to what I'm doing now because, as I said, I'm also doing outsourcing projects and I also handle some external vendors contracts. So contract law really helped me a lot, and some aspects of anti-money laundering from contract or commercial law is coming in really helpful. So although I'm a newbie in banking, but not exactly a newbie in certain aspects of my work. And also, besides getting promoted last year, another big achievement that I've made was I finally made my way to the International Court of Justice in The Hague in Netherlands. which was so good because that's like a legendary place for us because we always read in our textbook, and I had no idea where it is. So without LLB, I probably wouldn't have left Asia, wouldn't have left Singapore, and it gave me so much courage to explore new places outside of my tiny world and also explore so many different job scopes within the bank or outside the bank as well. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bim. And how interesting about how an LLB can really set you up for success in ways that maybe you didn't consider, you know, when you were actually studying it. And, you know, now look at you, you're the vice president, which is, you know, fantastic. So that's great. So we'll come on to that a bit more later, I think. We already have so many questions in the chat box, so that's exciting. But obviously I need to introduce Umar. Can you also make sure if you do have a question that you actually signal who you would like to hear from, if you have anyone specifically? So Umar, over to you. 5 minutes to introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My first interaction with law was perhaps when I was in my GCSEs, and I noticed that, you know, there were certain there was a lack of animal rights awareness in Pakistan. It is when I founded one of the first Pakistan's first animal rights organization, Pakistan Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. And we focused a lot on propagating the act which was in place at the time and now as well, Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1890. That was the first interaction, my first interaction with law. Going ahead, I had 7 subjects in my A-levels. I had diverse interests, and I had to shortlist one subject, and I shortlisted law to major in law because it really enables you to stand up for your own rights and for the rights to advocate the rights of other people as well. I did my law degree from the University of London. Alongside, I did BA in political science and sociology. I also later, when I graduated, I practiced hardcore civil litigation in Pakistan, and I was called to the local bar, Punjab Bar Council, in 2023. I noticed that there was a lack of incorporation of technology, which was employed, and technology was not employed by firms in Pakistan. So I capitalized on that, and we founded the company Liaison Limitless, which focuses on digitizing the firms that are in Pakistan, at least 50% of those by 2030. Later on, we also focus on teaching students as well, tutoring them. And regarding the AI, a few bits on that. I believe that it's a necessity for aspiring lawyers to not only adapt at navigating the complexities of the law, but also remain committed to using their skills for broader societal impact. The legal profession is no longer just about litigation and corporate law. It's about being at the forefront of advocating for change, whether in sustainability, technology, or social justice. There was a recent article that I was reading. It was written by Harvard Law School's David Wilkinson. It was titled The Legal Profession in 2024 AI, in which he argues that generative artificial intelligence has the potential to transform the practice of law. Recently, there have been cases in which the lawyers have taken help from AI in drafting their documents, in which AI cited some made-up cases, which were later found out to be so, as was judged by the judges. But remember, one thing that I want to put forward is that AI is bound to get better. So basic legal information is going to be more and more accessible through technology and more and more people as well. The problem is that the access to basic legal information is just one of the steps in the processes of legal services. So as there are people who can search now basic legal issues such as pertaining to family laws, or a contract perhaps, and they can search those up through ChatGPT perhaps, or other AI platforms such as Perplexity. So that also perhaps is one of the things that is making law, at least basic legal advice, accessible to a lot of people as well. One thing that I failed to mention is that I also I got certified by IMC, which is based in Germany, International Mediation Campus, and as a mediator. So that is one of the areas that is developing now in Pakistan. In the world, it has already been established to a great extent. So alternate dispute resolution is one of the areas where there have been a lot of developments recently. I won't take much of the time. I'm fairly junior compared to my fellow panelists, so I'm looking forward to answering questions if there are any.
Oh, that's very humble, Umar, but we're so happy to have you here as well, because you bring a kind of unique flavor that our students will find really interesting, especially your insights on AI, and we will get to that, especially about regulation. So I'm sure we'll come back to that in a bit. I've basically been taking notes of the different questions that have come in because it's such a lively chat box. I'm not sure if the speakers can see, it's very lively. So I'm just kind of looking at picking the questions that I can see that are the kind of the most popular, or there's different themes sometimes in different questions, and some of them are the same. So I'm kind of grouping them together. I think one of the most popular questions that has come in now that we're in the Q&A portion of our session is around actually marketing the University of London distance learning degree successfully, because a few people have said that they're finding it a bit of a struggle in recruitment. And obviously all of you have done a LLM or an LL.B or both, distance and flexibly. So what advice would you give? Osama, did you want to come in on this?
I absolutely do. I think the University of London, at least as far as Pakistan is concerned, now has quite a bit of competition. I think the University of London needs to revamp itself to an extent. Yes, marketing is required, but more than that, they need to be more innovative. We've got other universities, Reading and Lancashire and etc. They're offering distance learning programs where people can then transfer to UK for the last leg of their degree, and that is something University of London should also consider, considering that it has so many constituent colleges that offer law. So if they can kind of have some kind of agreement with Birkbeck or SOAS or any other university to have the third year of the law degree over there, that's one thing. I think other than that, there needs to be more and more focus now on assignment-based stuff rather than exam-based stuff. As I said, I'm very, very old. I'm from the external program era. Back then, we had no assignment-based marking or anything. Everything was based on examinations once a year. But I think there should be more of a focus, especially post-COVID, on assignments. I think that is what younger students are looking at. Around the year assignments, and maybe exams should be only 30 to 40% of the total grade. So that is something I think the University of London should look into, and it should look into the other programs that are being offered by other universities. So there is certainly competition, I think, and they should look into that, particularly with the law degree.
Sorry if I may just
so
come
that
in.
is my take on this.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Umar?
Yeah. In terms of marketing, I think, was the question that how can University of London market the program successfully?
No, so that is one thing which we can take back as the advice, absolutely. But I think because of the students in the room today, it'd be great if you could give some insights into how they could market themselves, as individuals when they're actually going for applications and interviews. If you'd like to come in on that, Umar.
I believe one thing that University of London students have an edge over is that they have access to a vast number of resources. The library, JSTOR, Westlaw. There are a number of resources that they have access to. Even just today, there's this section on Careers Connect on top right, it's career set, where you can actually upload your CV and tailor it to the requirements of the role. I just found out today using the help of AI. So I believe these are the having been, this international university, it has access to a lot of students, can access a lot of resources, and they can market themselves, knowing that they have peers from all around the world, and they have access to resources, and they utilize that, and they have a command over research, and these are few things that they can incorporate that in their applications or CVs, and they can market through that, I believe.
Okay, sure. And then I think that we'll get on to Nathan next, because we've got some more questions about arbitration. But before we do that, I just want to go to Bim about marketing your degree. So how did you kind of market your degree to your current employer?
So for ourselves in banking, in Japan, in head office, any degree is eligible for a banking career. So in Japan, as long as you are a university graduate, you can apply to join any bank. So we have people in law from University of Tokyo, Waseda University. So also people graduating from law courses from Australian University, of course, University of London as well. So from there, we are law students, law graduates are being seen as highly valued by the organization, because compared to other degrees, as I've mentioned, we are more known for our organizational skills and also our analytical skills and interpretation skills. So from there, we are already seen as slightly different from other candidates. So marketing wise, we don't have to put in a lot of effort to specially market that we are from law but want to join a non-law related company or something like that. So from me, that part also was picked up by my recruiter, and in my role, I have to interpret head office rule, guide regional officers on rules. So that part was picked up by my recruiter and recommended to my previous hiring manager, who is now in Japan. So nothing particular that I had to do, but yeah, after I entered, everything was pretty successful. I could successfully read all the unknown bank rules, and I could help regional officers to their any rule related questions. So just now, I also saw some questions regarding compliance. So we also have some law graduates taking compliance, and for myself, I have a classmate from accountancy with law. So during that time, she joined us for a few law modules, and she didn't proceed in her career in accounts, but moved on to do AML and compliance in my company right now. So she was also picked up by her interviewer because she had the law portion, and that part will really help us with the various screenings that we need to do for, let's say, outgoing transactions where we move large sums, or screening for suspicious transactions, screening for terrorists, and so on. So yeah, having the LL.B degree, LL.M degree, and also having something with law BSc really helped us very much from this aspect.
Okay, thanks very much, Bim. And it's really interesting about that thing about the recruiter and the employer. So it's also about perhaps the culture of the employer and the recruiter that you're actually applying to as well, which is interesting for all of you to consider when you're applying to different roles. I now want to kind of pivot a bit and ask Nathan a very specific question about arbitration, how to get into arbitration, because we've had loads of students that have said that they're really interested in that in particular, and especially how doing an LL.M in maritime law might also help with that. So would you like to come in on that, please?
Yeah, international arbitration is, I mean, it's a growing field just given how expensive litigation is becoming at the moment. So it's a form of alternative dispute resolution at lower cost. Often it involves a bit more confidentiality, so your dispute is not publicly disclosed in most cases. So it's becoming more of a popular avenue of dispute, and that means there's more opportunities. In terms of getting into arbitration or international arbitration, I think it's, I mean, the arbitration lawyers I work with, they live and breathe international arbitration. They get involved in things such as writing for blogs, writing for Just Mundi, which is a legal publication, Kluwer law blog, just writing, contributing. It's a very academic field. It's constantly evolving. There's constantly changes in the law. And as lawyers, the lawyers are assist in the change. So getting into it, it's firstly, I mean, you have to have an interest in disputes. You probably have to, I mean, your attention to detail needs to be sublime, just given the deadlines within it. You're dealing often with international clients, sovereign states, governments who need to understand the legal questions without the jargon. So it's really lived and breathed practice. Networking, I think, back to the recruitment point, and I think there was a question, does the degree hold weight? I think, in terms of recruitment, generally, networking goes way further than anything else. It's, go to the events, especially arbitration. There's international arbitration weeks almost every month in every country, where international arbitration lawyers get together and discuss relevant trends, and some of them are open to the public. Networking it's really important. Often international arbitration firms also offer internships. Often the internships are offered to those that are already qualified, have some experience in arbitration or other related areas, and that's how you can get a foot in the door as well.
Yeah, that's great, and really useful words there, Nathan, about arbitration, but also about networking and how crucial it is. And, especially, obviously every region is different, but it can be kind of who you know, especially when it does come to the legal sector. So it's worth kind of taking heed of that. And also, I just want to say that, so Nathan was talking about these societies, and I just want to highlight that on our the careers VLE, basically, if you sign on to there and go on to the law section of the VLE, we have for each region the different societies in the legal sector. So it is worth signing up to those and going along to the events in person or online, and making sure that you network that way. And also, we also have some recorded webinars around how to market your distance learning degree as well, which you can find on our VLE. And yes, Umar, please do come in on the point. Yes.
I kind of want to pick up from where Nathan left. If, for example, there are two parts to it. If you're already a graduate, then obviously what Nathan advised is best. If you're a student right now, what you can essentially do is you can involve yourself in mooting competition, as well as there are really good mediation competitions, arbitration competitions. So you can involve yourself there. I personally know a couple of people, lawyers, who were kind of noticed by the judges as good mediators, arbiters, and they were later on, when they graduated, they were recruited by those practicing lawyers or arbitrators, judges. Could be mediators or arbitrators. So you can kind of involve yourself, if you're a student, in those kind of competitions as well. And networking, obviously, yes, networking is extremely important. There are arbitration weeks generally in different countries, online as well as offline. So kind of attend those and network there as well.
Okay, that's great. And just to say, Melissa's going to put the VLE link in the chat box for those of you that are not sure where to find that. And thank you, Umar, for that. Osama, I know you might want to come in on this, but I'd like you to come in on the next question, if that's okay, just because time's kind of ticking on, just because I know that you have some really great insights about this. There were a few questions around kind of regulation versus AI and kind of the quickness of AI and how it's developing and how governments are finding it hard to catch up. Could you bring some of your insights and experience into that, please?
Before I get into that, let me just tell young students that, whatever they think about their career right now, their career is never going to be like that. It's going to be fairly different from that. You think something and things don't exactly go that way, but that's not a bad thing. Let me remind them. I started my LL.B in 2005. I know that's a long time ago. Back then, I thought maybe I would be doing litigation. Everybody wants to be a litigator, an arbitrator, or something like that. That's the flavor of the month. It always has been. But at that time, I probably would have thought I'd be prosecuting drug dealers. And as I talked about in my podcast, I was working on the legalization of cannabis now. So I never imagined that in 2005, that I would one day be legalizing cannabis. And just a few days back, we've passed an ordinance. The government has passed an ordinance, so now it is legal. They've created a cannabis control authority in Pakistan. So, as I said, your career can be very different from what you think. And it's the same with everything and that's not a bad thing. So you may think one thing, but your career may turn out completely differently, and that will not be a bad thing. As long as you focus, as long as you've got the skills, you'll adapt to anything, particularly with this degree. You'll be able to work in different fields. As far as AI is concerned, again, I think people who are used to technology, particularly the University of London students, have been very used to technology since the beginning. Even back in 2005, we were using technology for our research because we didn't have a proper law school to be studying in. So we didn't have those kind of resources. We had to rely on technology. AI is the same. It's just a new technology. We have to treat it as such. And like every new thing, it has to be regulated. We have been using it in law. It's a gray area right now. Obviously, you can use AI. There's nothing against it, but you need to have a supervisory role over it. You cannot completely rely on it. And I think that is where the governments come in. In Pakistan, one of the judges actually wrote a judgment using AI, and then he wrote the judgment himself. And then he compared the two judgments. The actual decision was the same in both, even though the reasoning was somewhat different. So I think AI can be a very good help for students and for young lawyers. They need to put it into practice. They need to, but what they need to learn is to give the kind of prompts. What kind of prompts should be given to an AI program? And I think that is what needs to be taught and what needs to be learned by young students. And once they master the prompt, I think they'll be able to get the right results. But governments, on the other hand, really, really need to look into this. And not just this, I think there are so many other fields that young students could go into. There's crypto regulation right now. That's something we're discussing. Cryptocurrency is something. Blockchains is another thing. How can those be legally used in other things? Blockchain is essentially a register, a foolproof register that cannot be tampered with. And that is something where it can be utilized in legal fields and how it can be legally used. I think that needs to be something that young students need to look into, and young lawyers as well. That's an opportunity for them. It's a field that they need to think about, to use crypto and to regulate crypto and to utilize blockchains. And so I think there is a whole vast field opening up for these young people. They just need to focus in that direction. It's good to think about arbitration and litigation, and that's fantastic. But you should also think about the new fields. That's all I'll say.
Yes, absolutely. Really interesting. Thanks, Osama. And about kind of legal tech and that emerging field. Really exciting, and it's changing constantly all the time. And I just want to kind of, before we start wrapping up and winding down the session, I just want to say that Melissa has put in the chat box a feedback link, which should only take you 2 minutes to do. And, you know, you can give us constructive feedback or positive feedback. Positive feedback is really great, and constructive too, because if you got a lot from this session and you'd like more sessions like this with our alumni and employers, then it's a good way of kind of telling us that. But, you know, my last question will be to ask Bim to come in again, perhaps, because somebody was asking specifically about, you know, how do you even go about with recruiters and employers and actually applying in that way? And Bim, I was thinking you might be a good person to speak on this because you were commenting on it in the chat box.
Yes, thank you. So I saw that question as well, and it's about where to get the recruitment resources. So first of all, for me, I used a few private recruiters. So so for us in Singapore, there are a few Japanese recruiters like Purcell Kelly or JAC. You can put your resume with such recruiters, and after a few days, they will probably call you up to see what you would like to do, and they probably ask questions like if you want to do something in banking, what kind of role would you like to take, or would you like to take a legal role? What kind of role should I match you with? So we can go through the route of private recruiters. And for us, there's no charge in using such recruiters. But in case you are more concerned about the fees and all, you can always try government portals. For Singapore, we have My Career Future. You can find any kinds of job, including banking or legal, on the portal. Just key in the company that you wish to join or the keywords that you're looking at. And also another good resource is on LinkedIn. So for LinkedIn, you can key in the job that you want to apply, and usually you'll get a list and also a list of related ones at the site to see if you're interested. And also for LinkedIn itself, there are also opportunities where recruiters will contact you directly to ask if you are interested in certain jobs. So that's where you can showcase your resume. That's the first part on introduction. So in the introduction, you introduce yourself as a LL.B, LL.M, or something with law graduate, and then tell them the skills that you gain through your degree, and also what would you like to do. So do a nice introduction of yourself in your profile, and also under the resume section, put in whatever you have done. So if you have an internship experience or certain certifications in maybe legal or compliance or language, put everything in. And the recruiters will probably pick them up and then engage you for a conversation. I recently got offered a role also in banking and also in regional operation, which requires a head office rule interpretation, just through LinkedIn, because a recruiter contacted. So that is quite worth trying. If you need anything, you can contact me on using my contact link on the alumni ambassadors page, and then I can also guide you from there.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Bim. And how brilliant. A bit of top tips about LinkedIn, because no matter where our students are in their career stage, so many people, you know, feel like, oh, I'm really nervous about my LinkedIn. And yes, great to hear that you're happy for people to contact you via the alumni database. While I kind of wrap up the session, speakers, if you are happy for people to contact you via LinkedIn, please put your LinkedIn in the chat. That's only if you're happy to. There's absolutely no obligation. You know, obviously there's not loads of students here, but it's completely up to you. Okay, so we're going to wrap up the session today, and we've heard so many great insights from our employers. And I just want to really thank you all for your time, because I know that you offer this pro bono, and it's because you, you know, you care about and you value the university. And